Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually standing between your computer and, the entire wild public internet? Well, there's this digital guardian working for you 24/7, and it's called a firewall. So let's get right into it and break down exactly what a firewall is, how it works, and why it's so incredibly important for your online safety.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why we even need this protection, what's out there. Then we'll dig into the origin of the name firewall, which is surprisingly literal. After that, we'll see how it works like a digital bouncer, check out the two main types of firewalls, and wrap up by seeing how to layer them for the best possible protection.
So let's start with Section 1, the Internet's open door. You see, to really get what a firewall does, you first have to understand the place it operates in, that huge open space we call the Internet.
And this really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When you connect your laptop or your whole company's network to the Internet, are you safe? The short answer? Nope, not at all. You're basically opening a door from your private space to the entire world.
Because, let's be real, the public internet is swarming with hackers and all sorts of malicious programs just probing for a way into private networks like yours. A firewall's whole job is to be that safety barrier between your trusted private network and the untrusted public internet. It blocks all that nasty stuff while making sure the good, legitimate communication gets through just fine.
And that brings me to something pretty cool. You might think firewall is just a clever tech metaphor, but it's actually borrowed directly from the world of construction. Seriously! That's right. In a building, a firewall is a specially built physical wall. Its one and only job is to contain a fire in one area and stop it from spreading and burning down the entire building. It is a literal wall against fire.
And the analogy just works perfectly. On the left, you've got the building firewall, a physical barrier that contains a real fire. On the right, you've got the network firewall, a digital barrier that contains malicious traffic. One stops a fire from destroying a building, the other stops harmful activity from destroying a network. The main point here is that they're both designed to contain danger and prevent a total disaster.
Okay, so we've established that a firewall is a barrier. But how does it actually know what to block and what to let in? Well, that brings us to Section 3, the digital bouncer's rules. Every firewall runs on something called an access control list, or an ACL. The easiest way to think about it is as a strict guest list for our digital bouncer. The network administrator, the person in charge, creates this list, and it tells the firewall exactly what traffic to allow in and what to deny.
For instance, one way they do this is with IP addresses, those unique numbers for every device online. Just look at this example. The ACL here lets traffic in from a few specific IPs, right? But look at that one in bold. There's a clear rule to deny anything from the address ending in .10. If that address comes knocking, the firewall just says, "Sorry, you're not on the list," and slams the door shut.
Firewalls can also filter traffic using port numbers. Think of ports as different doors on your computer, each for a specific service. So port 80 is the main door for web browsing, while 25 and 110 are for email. This rule says, yep, web and email are fine, let them in. But it also explicitly denies access to other ports, like 23 and 3389, which are used for things that the administrator has decided are just too risky to leave open.
So now we know how they work. But not all firewalls are created equal. This brings us to Section 4, where we'll look at the two main lines of defense you're going to find out there. First up, you've got your host-based firewall. This is pure software that lives right on your computer. You know, the one that's built right into Windows, or the one that comes with your antivirus software? That's a host-based firewall, and it only protects that one single machine. Then you have the network-based firewall. This is usually a mix of hardware and software. It might be a separate physical box, or it could be built into your home router. The huge difference here is that this one protects the entire network sitting behind it.
So, if there are two types, you might be asking, which one's better? Well, here's the thing. You don't have to choose. In fact, the absolute best security strategy is to use both, which leads us to our final section, layering for maximum safety.
I want you to think about it like a medieval castle's defenses. The network-based firewall, that's the giant outer wall, the moat, the first line of defense protecting the whole kingdom. And the host-based firewall on each computer, that's like having a dedicated guard at the door of every single room inside the castle. It's a second, much more personal line of defense. And this is why layering is so powerful. Let's say some really sneaky bit of malicious data manages to get past that big outer wall. Well, it's not home free yet. The host-based firewall on your actual computer is still there, waiting to stop it in its tracks. It's a concept called security in depth, and it's absolutely crucial.
So there you have it. A firewall is your network's essential guardian, your digital bouncer, using a strict set of rules to keep you safe. And for the best possible protection, you really want to layer your defenses. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Now that you know what they are, how strong are your digital walls?